Hello YouTube, this is the Historical Gamer. This is my first YouTube video, so bear with me. It's probably pretty terrible. I don't have a focus. I'm just basically talking as I'm reading through. The game I'm going to be doing for my first game and my first video is called The Scourge of War Gettysburg. It is an excellent game. You see I'm going through a couple of the different options there. I just want to give you a heads up because you're only going to see this really for these couple of seconds. Game has multiplayer if you're interested in that. If we get into that later, I might bring it up in or maybe I'll even do a video at a later time. It was released about a year and a half ago. It's based on the Battle of Gettysburg, so there's over 20 scenarios dealing with the Battle of Gettysburg, both cavalry battles, as you see, that's the cavalry field, and the original, just normal infantry battles. I haven't played the actual home game a whole lot. What I'm actually going to be focusing on, and before it does have a sandbox mode, so you can select and create random battles throughout any of the maps, with any of the units that fought at Gettysburg. In addition to that, the game does have 2 expansions, as I was saying. One of them is called Pipe Creek, which is based off of a fictional battle that very well may have happened. It's a little bit, I believe, further east and south of Gettysburg, but I could be wrong. My geography could be off on that. Newt Gingrich actually wrote a book about a hypothetical battle there. There's a couple of books. And then Antietam, which just came out about a week ago, I think now. And Antietam is a beast of a expansion. There's over 20 scenarios included, including some South Mountain scenarios, which was a small battle which took place just a couple of days before Antietam. Antietam was fought in September of 1862, and it was the bloodiest battle in American history. More Americans died that day than any other day in American history. I think the most impressive thing is there are 2 beast scenarios. Look at this one right here. Confederate Army, you command the entire Confederate Army, and that scenario is 11 hours long. It is real time. You do not accelerate. You might be able to, I don't know how, but it's an 11-hour long slaughter fest. For 11 hours, Americans fought on each side and just butchered each other. No game that I'm aware of has ever made a scenario like that. An entire battle, 11 hours. The Sid Meier's game in Antietam did try and make kind of that epic feel, and it was pretty epic, but it wasn't real time. It was accelerated. I'm into this scenario. I'm doing the first scenario, which is you're a brigade commander in the Confederate Army, and you command 1 brigade. It's not, by the way, the graphics aren't bad. It's not like you're just disappearing on the horizon. It's actually night. That's why it's dark. You command a Confederate brigade on the Confederate left. We're in the Cornfield there. I'm getting some briefing, or a courier you saw right up to me with a message. But you command a Confederate brigade near the Cornfield on the left. So if you know anything about the Battle of Antietam, it started in the early morning hours on the left flank of the Confederate Army in this cornfield, and then slowly moved further and further from the left to the center and then to the right throughout the day. General Lee commanded the Confederate Army. General McClellan commanded the Union Army. McClellan was famous for being incredibly cautious, and even at Antietam, the battle ended in a stalemate, but McClellan held back a large number of reserves that could have really been used to turn the battle into a Union victory, it was a victory in some sense. It wasn't a defeat. McClellan, I'm not going to go too much into the generals here, as you see me looking around the map, kind of getting an idea. McClellan wasn't, in my opinion, a terrible general. If you compare him to some of the other guys who were around for the Union Army, he was good enough and tactically sound enough and cautious enough, for that matter, that prevented himself from getting caught in really too advantageous position. So he was good enough to avoid dramatic defeat, but he was almost too methodical. He wasn't willing to really go into combat, it seemed. He loved his army, he loved his men, and he wasn't willing to engage them, it would seem. He was never ready, he always wanted more men. This is one of those battles where he actually stumbled upon Lee's orders before the battle and still hesitated. But anyway, enough of that. So it's sunrise, you see there, the sun's starting to come up, it's starting to get a little bit lighter on the horizon. The graphics in this game are really good when you take a look at what it really is, and there I'm looking at some of the different, movement orders. I'll do that a little bit more later if you want to follow the mouse, but the graphics are really nice, as I was saying, for a game of this type. It's not going to be a first-person shooter, it's not going to be a Crisis, it doesn't have that point of view, but it's an amazing battle in the sense of scope. You can see there's quite a few men there. No game has ever put this many spirits, as far as I'm aware, into such a small area. The battle itself had almost, I think it was 90,000 men engaged. There were 39,000 Confederates, and then there was over 60,000 Union troops engaged, so almost 100,000 men. In this game, every individual you see on there, every spirit, represents 10 men, I believe. So that's over 10,000 spirits. That makes the Total War games look puny in comparison, where you might have 2,000 people in an epic engagement on the screen on one army, and maybe 2,000 on another. And the Total War series just failed miserably in the Napoleon genre as far as trying to make realistic battles. You see there, I'm moving forward, and that's actually real quick. The courier system in this game is amazing. You send orders to other units with couriers. As a brigade commander, you mainly just receive them there. But if you saw a couple seconds ago, there was a horse riding in front of my men, and that was actually a Union courier. And as my men moved forward, they shot and killed the courier, and that was his message they intercepted. It's not it's not scripted as far as I'm aware. That horse was riding in front. It is now dead on the field there. You can see it right there. And my men found its message, so I was able to intercept exactly what the message said. But as far as the scope, the Napoleon Total War games tried to make this kind of genre work. It was a more open and kind of less, obviously theme specific. It wasn't just one specific battle. But it was really pathetic. You had armies of 2,000 men fighting each other, and 2,000 men. The Napoleonic Wars, the Battle of Leipzig had over 500,000 men involved. And to represent that with 2,000 men, in my opinion, is just a travesty. I love the Total War games, especially the Rome Total War games. I think that was the most fun, even if the scale is off. But you just can't compare it. This is something just completely unique in the gaming community. There is no other game out there like this. The scale is phenomenal. The command system is phenomenal. I mentioned the couriers. If you are in command of a higher unit, you don't communicate to your... you can point and click and tell your men where to go, but the command system in this game is just phenomenal. You can send a courier message from your commander. You always play as one specific general, so in this case I'm commanding a brigade, even though there's obviously a lot more men around me that I don't command. But you can command, as I mentioned, a division and an army, or I mentioned that. So in this game, if you're commanding a division and you want a brigade to attack, you can actually send a courier message to your brigade to tell them to attack. The brigade won't attack until the message gets there, and when it does get there, that commander will act on his own initiative based off of his own historical ratings and act in a way that would be realistic for that commander. So you have courier messages that are vital in this game, going back and forth, and it makes the game just alive, as if it was a real battle, as if it wasn't just some point-and-click fest. You can make it a point-click fest if you want. You can do what I'm doing and micromanage, although from a brigade level that's far more realistic, because as a commander you see me right there in the middle of the screen. I could ride easily down the line and tell each man, each regiment here what to do. That's kind of how brigade command worked. But from an upper level perspective, it's not like the Sid Meier's Gettysburg or Sid Meier's Antietam games, which you might be familiar with from the late 90s, where you point and click and you tell every unit where to go. You have an AI that is competent enough to react to orders that you give it, and act in a realistic manner. The game is so realistic that the United States Army is using it for training its officers. I believe they're using the Gettysburg version, which really, it's just a different battle. It's the same game. The Antietam version just came out. And for such a game, for a game that really fits such a niche market, there's only been a couple of big Civil War games that have caught on and sold tons of copies. I've mentioned it a couple of times. Sid Meier's Gettysburg is probably the biggest. I really feel like this should be one of those games. But for a game that really, unless a major publisher picked it up, or unless there was some kind of astronomical amount of money was poured into advertising, these types of games usually sell for a lot more. Games $5, and it's really affordable for anyone who might be interested in a Civil War game. The expansions are even cheap. I mean, are incredibly cheap as well. The Pikes Creek map, I think, is $9 for the 8 scenarios, and then the Antietam one is, I think, $19. It might be $29. I'm not sure. It's less than the original. But when you compare that with games that Matrix offers, and a lot of the niche games kind of like this, which are incredibly detailed and fun, a lot of games over there can cost $60 to $100 in some cases. So it's very affordable if anyone's actually interested. This isn't meant to be an advertisement, but I do want to let people know this isn't something that's out of reach. It's definitely mainstream pricing, as if it was a major publisher type thing. As you see here, I'm fighting the Union. I tried to get my men up toward the fence to give them some cover. The game is incredibly realistic. Physics are important. Cover is important. I didn't do a good enough job. My men kind of rushed in, and I didn't support them or deploy them well, and I'm paying for it. You see there, a regiment of mine is retreating. I'm trying to stop them. Usually that doesn't work. Usually you just want to let them retreat, at least in my limited experience. A veteran might tell you something different. But as far as the game is concerned, I kind of lost my train of thought here. I apologize. I'll do a better job of this in future videos of maybe coming up with some kind of script or a general outline to follow. But this game is just, I can't say enough positive about the game. I'm gonna do a couple more videos where I focus more specifically on the gameplay, not just watching the gameplay, but kind of telling you how to do different things. So if this is something that might interest you, definitely check those videos out. But it really makes this battle and the Civil War come alive. It's not just a top-down, board game like move a unit here, move it there. It's a living and breathing game, and I love it. And I really was intending to make this video about the gameplay. That's what I had in mind. I didn't get it. I got distracted, and like I said, I didn't have it. Just look at that. Look at that. I mean, the smoke. It's an amazing game. I mean, this is a brigade. Imagine when this is a brigade. This might be 10,000 men. Not even 10,000. Maybe 5,000 men engaged here in this small little corner of the map. Imagine when you have 100,000 men firing and attacking all at once throughout an entire map. It's at an epic level. But I really lost my train of thought. I was really intending to make this about the gameplay, and ended up being more just about how much I love this game, which was not my intent. I will make a couple more that are more directly about the gameplay if you're interested, and I'll post those probably in the next couple of days, maybe within a week at the latest. I'm getting my butt kicked pretty handily here. But yeah, I mean, if this game interests you at all, I would really appreciate a like. It's my first video, but if this is something you're interested in or something that you might want to watch more of, definitely follow or like me so that you get that alert when I post my next video in a couple of days or within a week, definitely. And I'll go more into the gameplay. I really just raved about the game, and I apologize, that wasn't my intent, but I'll make a couple shorter videos more directly about the gameplay, more directly about the controls, give you kind of a better feel about all this. But for now, that's all I'm gonna be able to do, and you have an excellent day, and thank you for watching.